What is going on, YouTube universe? This is Zira bringing you another AFL tips, predictions and discussion video where this week we look ahead to round 22 and we take the time to pause and unfortunately reflect on what was my worst tipping week of the entire season. I really don't want to get into it, but it has to kick the video off. And unfortunately, as you can see on screen, I only tipped 4 out of 9. I had the worst week. It was... The round kicked off on Friday night with Melbourne taking on Collingwood, and I backed Melbourne by 21 points. Collingwood, obviously, were the team that managed to get up by 7 points. Another game they won by less than 2 kicks. I think that now takes them to like 11 or 12 games for the season that have been won under a 2-kick margin. It's absolutely ridiculous. But I didn't tip Melbourne because I don't rate Collingwood. I have said numerous times over the past couple of weeks, I rate Collingwood and think they're a dark horse for the premiership this year. I just feel when a team gets an undefeated streak going or a good streak going, whether it's an undefeated streak or not, when it comes to the finals, you want to drop a loss prior to the finals, as opposed to dropping to a loss during the finals, which is what Richmond did in 2018 when we strung all those good games together and then come the finals, boom, boom, see you later. And I thought Melbourne could be the team to give Collingwood their check now prior, but I was wrong. I was rudely mistaken, and I was so desperately seeking for a late Melbourne goal just to get the fucking boys over the line. I didn't care about the margin, I just wanted the win. But Collingwood again proving that they've got a lot of talent on that team. They're a really good side, and this is without Brodie Grundy. So all the conversation that is currently going around Brodie Grundy maybe wanting to be traded, or the club maybe wanting to trade Grundy without him really being on board, I think it's a discussion that needs to be had, because Darcy Cameron has been tremendous this year, and you've got Mason Cox already, who can substitute in the ruck. Now, I would choose Brodie Grundy over Mason Cox any day of the week, but why fix what isn't broken? And it's just been confirmed that Brodie Grundy's going to be out for the rest of the year with an ankle injury anyway, so they're going to have to rely on the combination of Cameron and Cox if they want to get all the way in September. So could be sliding doors for Mr. Brodie Grundy. Who knows? The next game, Tasmania, Hawthorn, Gold Coast. And I said in last week's tipping video that Hawthorn are probably the pick here because it is in Tasmania. But I thought Gold Coast have been playing a better brand of football. A more consistent brand is probably the word I'm looking for. And they fall to Hawthorn by 7 points. It's fucking ridiculous. I couldn't get a handle on any of the games this weekend, as you can see. Jack Gunston had a huge game for Hawthorn, probably got them over the line off of his own boot. And then at Giants Stadium, I turned around and I said, you know what? I'm going to back Essendon in because they've been playing some really good football and Giants have been dropping a lot of games at Giants Stadium. And then GWS come out of nowhere and they fucking get up over the line. I seriously could not take a trick at all. Essendon had every chance to win this game early and just let GWS get out of the gates. And I think it just goes to show that when I've been saying, things like Essendon have been statistically the easiest team to score against this year, with a team like GWS coming out who has struggled all season and they can come out and easily score against Essendon, it just really emphasises that fact about Essendon's defensive structure. I was shocked with this outcome, to say the least. I really didn't expect GWS to come out and win by this margin. I feel if they were to win, they would have won by less of a margin. But I was wrong. And I think Essendon got a bit of a reality check and were brought back to ground a little bit harder this week, which is upsetting because they've been playing some really good footy. And then this game goes down. 4 X's in a row. Marvel Stadium, Bulldogs, Fremantle. I backed in the Bulldogs at Marvel. I thought they had the answers. Before the game started, My old man, again, was here for the weekend, as he is every weekend, and I looked at him and I said, wouldn't it be such a Fremantle thing that they would draw with Richmond, they would get smacked the following week by Melbourne, and then come down here to Marvel again, expected to lose, and they get up and win. And my dad turned around and said, that's what I hope, because I've tipped Fremantle. And fucking that's exactly what they did. They came out of the gates, and Bulldogs, although they put on a late charge, Fremantle were just way too good. And the commentators were willing Bulldogs back into the game. It was like 6 goals the difference, and then it became 5 goals, and BT was like, can you believe in the Dogs? No, we can't. GMHBA saw Geelong host St Kilda, and Geelong just got it done pretty convincingly. I was pretty impressed with how Geelong got it done. But again, playing St Kilda, I don't think it was much of a task for them, considering the brand St Kilda have been playing recently. They sit on top of the ladder. They are still the benchmark, in my opinion. But do we have some sneaky contenders popping up in the next couple of games, ladies and gentlemen? Adelaide Oval, Port Adelaide, Richmond. Richmond out the gates from the beginning. Lynch should have kicked 4 or 5 goals in the first quarter alone. Very convincing win here. They got back to playing a Richmond brand of football that have won them 3 premierships. We're talking about a club who was 42 to 4, I think it was either 42 or 46 points the week prior, down against Brisbane, managed to come back and win. They go on the road to Port Adelaide, where historically they have not travelled well, not only to Port Adelaide, but just travelling in general, and get the job done by 30 plus points on the weekend against the Power. That shuts down Port Adelaide's chances, if there were any chances to make the finals. I don't think there were at that point in time. But now that Richmond's starting to get a more aggressive approach to the football, they're linking up with their handballs, the chaotic run is starting to come back in. I think Richmond are going to finish 7th on the ladder, I feel. And I think Richmond, come September, and now I'm a Richmond supporter, so this is probably going to come down to Zero's being biased. I do feel Richmond have the weapons in their arsenal to do some damage come September. Only questions are, Nick Vlaston, he did a rib injury, will it only be a week or 2? Dylan Grimes, will he make it back in time for finals with the hamstring injury? Will Dustin Martin play finals, or have we seen the last of him? There are some questions surrounding, but considering we've been winning these games without Dustin Martin, I feel we can get it done without him. He just elevates us to another level. So, Richmond beating Port Adelaide on the weekend after 2 very good wins against 2 very good sides. I think Richmond should start getting, some whispers around in the conversation. Some people have been saying Shea Bolton is currently the best player in the competition. I argue he's probably the best small forward in the competition, but I still think there are other players ahead of him. But when you see stats like chain linking with goals, so basically having a effective hand in a score, Shea Bolton is involved in over 45% of Richmond's scoring this year. The next best is Marcus Bontempelli on 34. So when you've got a player who is in almost half of the scores Richmond have generated this year, it just goes to show the level that Shea Bolton has gone to. I don't think he's the best, but I think he is the one to keep an eye on come September. He could be, if we can get to the big dance, a future Norm Smith medalist. But he's having a very impressive run. I'm very happy with my boys, if you can't tell. Marvel Stadium, Sydney, North Melbourne. This is a game where I feel the scoreboard didn't reflect just how well North Melbourne played, because North Melbourne played incredibly well, unless your name is Jaden Stephenson. I have never in a game of football seen a player turn his back to the ball twice and allow 2 goals to come from it. A turnover, he turns his back and walks away from the ball, allows Errol Goulden to step up to forward 50 and just slot a goal through. He then turns the ball over later in the game to Lance Franklin, turns his back with his hands in his head, and allows Lance Franklin to effectively run into an open goal square and kick a goal. There would have been paint ripped off the walls, and Jaden Stephenson would have had his skin ripped off, I'm telling you now. But I think, just as well as saying that Richmond could do some damage, there's no conversation really buzzing around Sydney right now in the top 8. They're a sneaky chance as well. I feel dark horses, as far as dark horses go, everyone's starting to talk about Collingwood now, whereas I was talking about Collingwood a few weeks ago. No conversation going on about Sydney. And there's more conversation going about Richmond doing damage than Sydney doing damage. I don't get it. I really don't. The Gabba saw Brisbane take on Carlton, and I thought there was going to be 2 Brisbane fade-outs in 2 weeks. Carlton had only kicked 3 or 4 goals for the whole game, and then came out and more than doubled their score in the final quarter. I think they kicked 6 in a row, and I thought, oh fuck, Brisbane are going to drop this. But Brisbane found a way to hang on. Biggest news out of that game, Patrick Cripps reported for 2 weeks, went to the MRO. He was unsuccessful in turning that bid over, so he will miss the final 2 games for Carlton, which are the 2 games they need to win to finish in the top 8. Is this the end of Carlton's finals chances after starting the season 8-2? I don't know. Something deep inside me really thinks it would be hilarious for them to miss it because of all the verbal abuse I copped from them in round 1 trying to leave the stadium with my son. But I know there are a lot of blue baggers that watch my videos, and I really feel for you guys, more so than anybody else, because I know how it feels to miss finals after a hot start. Or just miss finals and be in obscurity for God knows how long. And then the final game of the round, I should not have done it, because I said last week I was never going to tip West Coast again, and I went and tipped them at home thinking they would rise to the occasion for Josh Kennedy. Josh Kennedy kicks 8 goals by himself and still can't get over the line. I have no answers. I really don't. I don't know how West Coast couldn't get up and win this game. Tim Kelly suspended for a week for a sling tackle, and he failed to overturn that as well, so he will cop that week. 4 out of 9. Very abysmal. Let's see how we went for the round. Okay. Christian Sciore, 1, 2, 3. I hope I said that correctly. 8 out of 9. Congratulations for getting the most. I'm actually quite surprised with some of the results that somebody managed to tip that much. Total tips. Hi to you two and some cripple both tied yet again for first place, with Hi to you two holding that number 1 spot. Congratulations to the 2 of you guys for still leading the way going into the deep end of the season. I slipped from 16th to 17th after tipping 4. I want a top 10 finish, and I'm going to have to make up 4 tips to get it. So, let's have a look at the round that will be. Friday night, Marvel Stadium, St Kilda taking on Brisbane. I honestly do think Brisbane come down here and will notch up a win. I don't think St Kilda possess the ability to put Brisbane away. When you look at the teams on paper, Brisbane's defence, I think, outweighs St Kilda's forward line somewhat, especially with Max King struggling to find some form. On the flip side, St Kilda do have some defensive guns in that mix that can shut down some of the forward pressure from Brisbane. But if you take out Joe Danaher and you take out Hipwood, you've still got McStay doing damage. You've still got Zach Bailey going up and doing damage. You've still got Charlie Cameron doing damage. You know, you've got the ability of Cam Rayner, Hugh McCluggage to get up there and do damage as well. I don't think they have enough answers, as I said, to control Brisbane as a whole. Will it be a close game, though? I am going to back in Brisbane by 22 points. I reckon St Kilda will be able to rein them in enough so it's not going to be a blowout, but I think Brisbane will get the win. I've been trying to work out in my head whether St Kilda have it in them to win this game, and I can't. I'm struggling to find ways to see whether they get it done. And now that I've said that, watch them come out and surprise. Marvel Stadium Saturday, we've got the Bulldogs taking on GWS. I'm tipping the Bulldogs. I don't think they dropped 2 in a row at Marvel. GWS played a very good game last week at home, though. So you got a team that has come off a loss that they should have never lost, and you got a team that comes off a big win after probably most predicted they wouldn't win. 2 flip sides of the spectrum. I think out of the 2 games that Bulldogs have on the run home, they've got GWS this week, they've got Hawthorn next week, and I feel Hawthorn's probably the danger game for the Bulldogs. I think they get it done here, though. Midfield battle, Bulldogs win. Forward battle, I think the Bulldogs just win. Defensively, though, I do rate GWS's defence better than the Bulldogs' defence. So, roll of the dice. Let's go with the doggies. Let's hope the doggies can get up and win it for me. Adelaide Oval. Adelaide taking on North. I think Adelaide win this one. I don't think, even though North have played some good football, as I said, they got convincingly beaten last week against Sydney, but they played a good solid brand. They were hard at the ball. The commentators for the game kept on saying that you wouldn't think that this was, a top 8 team playing a top, like a bottom 4 team in that game. If they bring the pressure around the contest, they could prove an upset, and I'm not ruling an upset out. But I think Adelaide, finding their feet against West Coast in West Coast, they take that momentum back to home with them, and I think they get it done against North. Metricon Stadium, Gold Coast, Geelong. Geelong are just going up to the Gold Coast for a little bit of a vacation, and they're going to pick up 4 points while they're there. It's as simple as that. Geelong smacked St Kilda with no Patrick Dangerfield, no Joel Selwood, no Mark Blick-Savs. John Segler had been brought into the team a week or 2 ago. He didn't play in that team. I don't know whether John Segler adds anything to Geelong, though, but you take out Blick-Savs, you take out Dangerfield, you take out Selwood, that's a lot of firepower. If those names come back in, Gold Coast are done and dusted, but I feel they're even done and dusted without those names. This is the time of the year where Geelong, getting a couple of easy games sliding into the end of the year, they can afford to rest those players, and they're going to be primed for finals, and I think this is just another... It's not even a speed hump. I think they're going to just cruise over the top of the Gold Coast quite convincingly. MCG, Saturday night, Melbourne, Carlton. Must-win game for Carlton to stay in the top 8. Unfortunately, I think Melbourne's going to get it done quite easy. No Patrick Cripps. That is a huge out for Carlton. Even though you've still got Sam Walsh running around, you would have normally had George Hewitt, who could have stepped up in the middle, but George Hewitt has all been ruled out for the rest of the year as well. So you take out Hewitt, who's been firing and has been one of the best recruits for Carlton that I've seen in a while. You take out Patrick Cripps, 2 big gaping holes in the midfield that you find it very hard to fill, and then you're coming up against a midfield that has the likes of Christian Petrarca, Clayton Oliver, you got Max Gawn in the ruck, you got young Sparrow running through, you've got Ed Langdon on the outside, you've got James Harms who can come in. Danger signs for Carlton. Very big danger signs. Optus Stadium, Fremantle, West Coast. Fremantle are going to get the win here. I'm confident in that fact. And that is also because I'm refusing to tip West Coast for the rest of the year. I'm sticking to my guns this time. No more West Coast. I feel Fremantle getting a big scalp against Western Bulldogs last week in Marvel. That is going to be, again, another big momentum boost heading into this game. And I think it was it Ethan Hughes? There was a backman for Fremantle who was mic'd up. And the way he was just speaking to Fremantle before the first bounce in the huddle, just saying, stick to your systems, just play your role, support one another, be hard at the contest. You can see Fremantle are truly playing for one another. They're not playing for themselves. And you've got to hold that in good stead. You really do. I think Fremantle win this game and they continue to push for a top 4 finish, which would be huge for their club. On Sunday at the MCG, we've got Richmond taking on Hawthorn, and I'm tipping Richmond, even though I feel out of the final 2 games of the year, Hawthorn are the bigger threat to Richmond than Essendon, purely because Hawthorn are starting to hit their straps, whereas Essendon have played good football and they're starting to kind of drop off a little bit. We've seen, historically, Hawthorn have had the better of Richmond in recent years. We've had big blowout wins. We've had the draw that ended last season. But we have learnt this year, you can't really hedge your bets on a previous performance coming into the next round, because we've had plenty of performances this year where a team has played incredibly well or played incredibly terribly, good English, incredibly bad, and come out the following week and either lose or win respectively. I just feel the way they've played against Brisbane and then they come out and dominated the game against Port, I don't see Richmond falling off the cliff here. I feel this is just Richmond starting to roll on. We know Richmond is a big, again, word of the day, momentum team. When they get the crowd behind them, when they start getting, wins behind them, they start playing a better brand of football. They start building and building and building, and I feel this is going to be a big crescendo heading into September. So, Richmond for me against Hawthorn. SCG, later that afternoon, we have Sydney taking on Collingwood. Arguably sets up game of the round, in my opinion. I'm still trying to work out how this game is going to go down. I originally said in my prediction video, the squiggle ladder predictor, I'm pretty sure I had Collingwood win this game, but I also had Collingwood losing to Melbourne. And I said earlier, you would think Collingwood would drop a game or two heading into September to kind of feel the hurt of a loss before building up to finals. They've been playing a lot of games this year where it's come down to the wire and they've only just fallen over the line, where when Sydney have been winning pretty convincingly lately. They either only, they don't fall over the line as often as they have been getting the bigger wins. I'm actually going to back Sydney in Sydney to disrupt the Collingwood undefeated streak. Again, not discrediting Collingwood. I just feel Sydney at home have the team to beat Collingwood. I don't think this is going to be another close game. If Collingwood get away with another close win, it's probably highway robbery at this point in time. They are a very good club this season, Collingwood. I've already said, actually, off camera to my best mate, who is an avid Collingwood supporter, that if Richmond didn't make finals, I would be on board with Collingwood this year all the way through. Unfortunately for this game, I just feel Sydney are going to be too good here. I might change my mind later, but I think right now Sydney are too good. And for the last game of the round, Marvel Stadium, Essendon taking on Port Adelaide. Oh, I'm going to do something a little bit silly here. I'm going to go Port Adelaide for the win. I think Port, even though they lost to Richmond last week, seeing how they move the ball as quick as they do on the rebound, I think they chop up Essendon's defensive line incredibly quickly if they can do that against them. They've been hugely dependent on trying to get the ball to Peter Wright a lot this year. I feel Aliir can lock that down. I don't think this is a game where Jake Stringer's going to get off the chain like he's been managing to do to some of the lesser teams. And I think the midfield battle is just one-sided here. I think it goes the way heavily of Port Adelaide. So, tip time. Brisbane, Bulldogs, Adelaide, Geelong, Melbourne, Fremantle, Richmond, Sydney, and Port Adelaide. Can I have a cheeky look? I'm actually pretty keen to see if anybody's locked in their tips yet. Can I see tips? I can only see tips from last week. That is a shame. I was hopeful to see whether we could see this week's tips just to have a little bit of a cheeky look as to how I was placed. However, you gotta think I can get better than 4 this. However, I'm incredibly hopeful I can get at least maybe 7 to 8 out of 9. I need to start making some moves. 2 weeks to go. if I want to get into that top 10 to finish the year off, I've got to start moving quick. Thank you for joining me again for another video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, it would mean a lot to myself if you hit that like button down below. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. A lot of AFL content will be coming to the channel over the coming months. We'll be doing an All-Australian selector. We'll be doing the best 22 under 22. Somebody asked me to do a comprehensive look at every club this year to give my personal rating on how they went. Things like what players they should trade in, what should they do moving forward. I'm actually looking forward to doing those type of videos. Trade period, we can do some trade talk stuff. We can go back to ranking forwards, backmen, midfielders, ruckmen, doing all that kind of stuff. So if that's content you want to see, make sure you've also got that notification bell hit, so whenever a new video comes out, you guys get that little ring-a-ding-ding to let you know what's what. But that's it from me, guys. I'm out of here. Good luck to your teams this weekend, and as always, I will catch you guys next time.